Hello everyone, I am TitanicSizedReviews. I review movies, shows, and video games, and today I am talking about As Above, So Below, a 2014 horror suspense rated R movie. It is 94 minutes long. This will be my 16 of 31 Halloween horror movies. I'll give you the main characters, and then I'm just going to get into the story. The main character is going to be Scarlett. She's an archaeologist. Her dad passed away. That's really all you need to know about her history. Her ex-lover, George, likes to repair broken things. Understands Arabic, I believe. I already forgot the language. I'm assuming it's Arabic. Whatever. Benji, their camera guy. There's going to be Papillon and his crew of misfits, Zed and Suxi. They're catacomb explorers. That's the main characters. The main plot of this story is that Scarlett and these people are going to go into the catacombs in Paris looking for the Philosopher's Stone. Because Scarlett's dad was doing this and she's kind of continuing the legacy. That's the basic plot. You understand what they're doing. Obviously, things are never this simple. This is a horror movie. So, I'm going to go over the story right now. You start off with Scarlett going across the Iranian border. She goes and visits some friend there that was friends with her dad. Goes into these tunnels that are there. And apparently those tunnels are about to be blown up. But she's looking for something in particular. And she finds this big-ass bull statue and some writings. And then, well, she manages to get out of there alive. Barely. Before she does, she sees a man hanging. You're not going to find out till later who this person is. I'm not going to say who right now. We transition to her in Paris, and she's already got Benji with her filming this because she's making like a documentary. And she mentions Nicholas Flamel, the famous alchemist who works with the Philosopher's Stone. She's trying to figure out exactly what the writings mean that she has, so she goes to find her old lover, George. And George obviously is adamant, but decides to help her because of the feels. They go to a museum there in Paris, which has Nicholas Flamel's famous stone. She takes it off the wall, puts lime on it, and adds fire to it. Kind of like in National Treasure, with the back of the Declaration of Independence. On the back of this stone, they get some more clues on where they have to go, and that they basically have to go underground, 370 feet underground to be specific. It's halfway between hell and earth. Before they do this, they go to a rave because they're looking for someone to help them find a way to get into the catacombs and out alive, obviously. They need a guide. That's where they meet Papillon and his friends Zed and Suxi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name right. He obviously agrees to take them because they mention that there's treasure, and as long as they get half, they're happy. So he takes them down there. Right as they're about to enter, George does not want to go because he does not want to be underground. He's claustrophobic, which I absolutely understand. Who wants to be trapped under all that dirt? That would suck. Well, he has no choice because as he's about to leave them as they're going on their own, a police officer out of nowhere just tackles Papillon like he's a football player. Just wham! Then you kind of transition to them all crawling through the little hole, throwing a smoke bomb to lose the police, and running into the tunnels. So at this part, George is with them whether he wants to be or not. They have to go through some tunnels that are filled with water. There are obviously bones everywhere. As they're walking through, they come across a bunch of creepy ladies who are singing and half naked. They're clearly a cult. They mention that there's a bad tunnel and they don't want to go through there because one of their old friends, the mole, went that way and disappeared. Never seen from or heard of again. So they have to climb over these bones, which makes Benji very uncomfortable. He's not as claustrophobic, but crawling over the bones is something he is not okay with. So he kind of freaks out, manages to get out to the other side where everyone else is at already, just in time before it collapses. Probably due to his freak out. Then again, probably not. Because at the same time, once they get through to the other side, that bad tunnel that they were originally avoiding is right in front of them, and it's the only way they can go. They have no choice. So of course they go through this bad tunnel, no choice. They see a sign of Pap, which is something that Papillon likes to leave behind as his little calling card. They don't believe that he hasn't been there before. He says that he hasn't, and that's bullshit. So they continue along a little bit. They hear a telephone ringing randomly. There used to be telephone lines apparently running through all the catacombs. And they think, there's just one left behind. So they continue forward. They see a piano. George gives a little story about the piano that he and his brother used to have, and they used to play together. And that the A4 key wouldn't work. And of course, the A4 key on this piano doesn't work either. He's a little weirded out. Then they hear the phone ring again. They move on, and they find an actual telephone. They pick it up. Scarlett hears a weird voice on the phone. I don't know what it says. Doesn't matter. And they turn, and the mole appears. He's just there, creeping in the dark, like, hello. He says, you guys want to get out, right? They're like, yes. He leads them towards a well that's in the catacombs, and they have no choice but to go down. He says the only way out is down. So they go down this well. Benji hurts his hands in the process. They hear weird noises, and they end up in a dead end. And they see these Egyptian hieroglyphs, symbols, and they know something is going on in that room, and that this is really the only way they can go at this point. They have to move a certain stone. If they move the wrong one, they're going to die. Well, obviously they move the right one. They get into a room where there's a Templar for some weird reason. Just one random Templar, not sure what that's entirely about. That could be Nicholas Flamel, I don't know. Well, Scarlett remembers some of the story in Lightest Day, Darkest Night, some Green Lantern type of shit. Tells them to turn off their lights, and they see light coming through this water on the ground. So they move these stones, they go through this little tunnel, and they're in the main room where there's treasure and the Philosopher's Stone. Obviously, nobody is careful at all. There's very obviously traps. So the Papillon and his crew break the cage, open the treasure, cause the ceiling to collapse after Scarlett manages to grab the stone. Everyone gets hurt a bit. They lose the mole, so they assume he is dead because he's separated from them. Well, she heals Sukzi with this stone, and they're like, wow, it works. That's amazing. This is the only time the stone works. Only time. Well, whatever. They see that the only way out is to keep going down further. As above, so below. So they find another hole in the floor that they break, crawl through it. They're in the exact same room with the treasure and then with the Templar. It's just everything's sort of changed a bit. Everything's a little different. They come across a sign that says it's the gates of hell. And they have no choice but to go through it to get out. Well, as they get in the room with the Templar, the mole is there. And Suxi tries to talk to him. And he just goes crazy and starts bashing her face in. And she is dead. KIA. Well, they have no choice but to move on. They get back to the well. As I said, everything's flipped around, so the well's just in a different spot now. They go down it. Benji's about to go down it, and he sees this lady who's a part of that cult, who he saw earlier at the rave when she looked normal. She pops up at him, and he falls to his death. They have no choice but to move on again. They continue down these tunnels. They see a flaming car. And Papillon realizes who the person is in the backseat of the car on fire. He says it's not his fault. And then all of a sudden, he starts getting sucked in like it's magic. Because it is. He gets grabbed by the zombie. The car kind of black holes itself out of existence. And Papillon's feet are the only thing left, just sticking out of the ground. They can't do anything for him. He's deep in that stone. Papillon is dead. So they kind of hide because they see a Grim Reaper-like figure walking around. At this point, George and Scarlett confess their love for each other in front of Zed. Poor Zed, all left out. They're playing hide-and-seek for a bit, trying to get around these Grim Reaper-like people, when some statue people come out of the walls and grab them, bite George right on the neck. So they run. The statues are really slow, I guess. None of the creatures in here managed to capture them, like, at all. They're real slow. I don't know what the deal is with that. Whatever. George is getting close to dying. Scarlett can't heal him with the stone, and she's not sure why, and she realizes she has to put the stone back for some reason for this to work. I don't understand the rationale there entirely. At all, actually. It's not really explained, but she goes to go put the stone back, so she runs all the way back through, leaves Zed and George just there. Zed trying to keep him alive. She puts the stone back, runs all the way back through, knocks a few statue people on their asses. You see the hanging man, which is actually her dad. Seems kind of obvious when you hear the story about him ending himself. She gets back to George, and she heals him with her hands. She's got the magic touch now from that stone. He's alive. So they get up, they continue to move along and try to find a way out, and they find another hole, of course. They were being chased by those Grim Reaper people. They didn't really have anywhere else to go. And Scarlett kind of gets them to confess their sins, or things they regret that are kind of holding them back, and then says, we've got to jump down this hole like we're Mario. It's the only way we're getting out of here. So that's what they do. They all jump down the hole like Mario and pop out the other side. Mario has taught them well. They're stuck in a room. They're not sure what's going on. There just seems to be like a square indent in the ground. They realize there's like a manhole cover there, so they push it, and they just keep pushing it till they eventually get it up, slide it open, and pull themselves out to freedom. They made it. They're alive. They don't have the stone. They just have a bunch of nightmares for the rest of their life. But they made it. And that's basically the end of the movie. I like this movie a lot. It's really good. It's very entertaining. I kind of like how it's not like super gruesome, even though they're in like hell. You are going to see some bloody hands pop out, faces in the ground, but it's not super gory compared to other movies like Hellraiser, for instance, which I think I'll have a link to at the end of this. You should click that and watch that. That's a good video. Every video I make is great. Just saying, come on. I like this movie. I don't think it's perfect. I certainly don't like it when there's like a shaky camera. I understand why they do it. It's more realistic, but I still don't like it. I don't like it. It's just kind of annoying. I don't understand the deal with the stone. How it just all of a sudden can't heal anybody, but her hands can. It's confusing. That part's kind of confusing. Other than these two things that I really don't... They're not like a huge deal, right? They affect the story a bit. At least the stone does. They're not a huge deal. I give this movie 9 out of 10. Part of me would say 9.5, but I'm just going to stick with 9 out of 10. It's a good movie. I like it. It's definitely worth a watch. It's interesting. It's got the creepy aspect to it. The catacombs might make you feel claustrophobic just watching this. They certainly made me feel claustrophobic. I would not want to go down there at all. That's a hard pass. If you've seen this movie, what do you think? Do you agree with my rating? Do you disagree? Would you go down in the creepy-ass catacombs, even if there was a bunch of treasure and a stone that could just alter anything into whatever it wants? I've watched Full Metal Alchemist. I think that does a much better job explaining what the Philosopher's Stone is than this. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, let me know. And while you're at it, click subscribe. And leave a like on the video. Yeah. And watch my other videos, because they're awesome. They're so good. Oh, top tier. I think I put it on the screen. I hope it's on the screen right now. If it's not, just click it down there with all the other videos. It's down there somewhere. Just click the video. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.